Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, first question. Hello Jason, when you talk about your strength standards, is it okay to use a belt to test a 1 rep max squat and deadlift? In an old video you said that a belt can add 40 to 50 pounds to a squat, which I didn't say, but on the ERX website they say that it's okay to use a belt. I'm a bit confused because I have a 120 kilogram squat right now and was wondering if add a belt will put me to 140 kilograms. Thanks in advance. You're asking me, will a belt put 20 kilos on your squat? No. No. I'm not sure where you got the impression that I said that. I think we're talking about people who train only with a belt. The belt doesn't add that much. It's that people who train purely with a belt have no strength beltless. But people who train beltless don't get that much. You'll get to maybe 20 pounds. I get maybe 20 pounds out of a belt on the squat, right? That's what I get. So you misunderstood what I said. I was confused when I read that at first because I was like, no, you said it a bit. No. I said guys who train exclusively with a belt, when they take the belt off, if they haven't done any beltless training, they can lose 50 and sometimes cases more. They might lose 100 pounds off their squat if they do everything with a belt all the time and never do beltless training. But that's not the same as what you get out of a belt. Someone who trains beltless most of the time and uses a belt for some things, they don't get that much because their core is stronger in general, in my experience. But as far as that goes, yeah, you can test your strength with that stuff. That's fine if you want to use a belt for it. That's fine for the strength standards. Perfectly acceptable. So that's not what I'm saying with those standards. I don't mean that has to be beltless. But, you know, again, we're talking about, what, maybe at most 20 pounds difference. So it's not that big of a deal. But I do recommend that you do most of your training beltless. You need to build a beltless base no matter what you're doing there, right? So I think that you need to understand the difference. You can use the belt to go ahead and hit maxes. You can use a belt for some of your peak sets. That's fine. But I do recommend that you do beltless training and build your base without a belt first. But yeah, if you want to do it for the strength standard, that's perfectly acceptable. All right, next question. In a recent video, you said if you're going to use whey powder, then go for optimal nutrition. Is there a specific one you'd recommend over the others? I'd use whey concentrate, plant-based, whey isolate. I just use their regular, I guess, whey isolate. All right, it's fine. Perfectly fine. What you do need to look at, though, people start talking about plant-based. I would never recommend that you take a plant-based protein. I would never recommend that. And I'm not saying plant proteins don't count towards your total. I certainly, these days, a lot of my protein comes from plant sources, right? But I also combine that with extremely high quality other proteins. So like actually lately, I haven't even been eating meat most days. I eat meat every now and then. I like a good steak, right? I like a good steak. I like a little sirloin. I like fajitas. But I've been getting most of my protein as far as animal source from eggs and dairy, and it's because it has a higher bioavailability. And I use a lot of higher protein plant foods for my overall calories because they're really satiating. But because they're a lower quality protein, I make sure that I'm getting all of my animal source from the highest quality proteins I can get, right? And it's just to balance out the whole profile. So if you're going to go in and add protein to your diet specifically, and you're going to pay for a protein supplement, and you're going to consume extra protein because you need extra protein, I don't see why you wouldn't use the highest quality proteins you can get. You're going to get lots of plant-based proteins if you're just eating beans and rice and oats and peanuts and potatoes, but they're lower quality. They have a lower bioavailability. It's not that they're not complete proteins, but the absorption and bioavailability is lower. So you're going to pay more money for an inferior protein. That's just stupid. Now, some people are going to say, well, what about if you're a vegan? All right, and this is going to piss people off, but are you coming to me as someone who's going to coach you to help you get the best results, or do you want me to reinforce your weird ideas? You know, that's like someone coming to me and saying, well, I don't want to do barbell squats. What machine would you recommend? I would tell you get your lazy ass under a barbell squat. That's what I would tell you. So if you're a vegan, I would tell you drink some damn dairy protein. That's what I would tell you. because you're coming to me for advice. You're not coming to me to reinforce your silly ass ideas. So, you know, I'll tell you the same thing. I'll tell the guy, he says, but I insist, I have a belief system that requires me to use machines. And I'm going to be like Zach De La Rocha and rage against the machine and tell you to get your ass under a squat bar. So that's what I'm going to tell you as a vegan. If you're a vegan, you need to be consuming animal protein. That's what I would tell you if you want the best possible results. And if someone hired me as a coach, if I ever did do coaching and they came to me with some silly shit like that, I would tell them that I'm not coaching them. I wouldn't coach someone who refuses to eat what they need to eat to get the results they need to get. I don't have time for that silly shit. And none of you should either. I would tell you right now, if you're a trainer or a coach and you get a client comes to you with some silly shit like that, fire them and go get new clients. You don't need that shit. You don't need your clients getting inferior results advertising for you. So yeah, if you're going to buy a protein powder and go through the trouble to supplement a protein, you need to be putting the highest quality proteins you can into your body, right? Otherwise, just eat food. It's stupid not to. So plant-based protein powders are basically stupid. And that's just how I feel about it. You want my honest opinion. All right, next question. Jason, what's the best way to progress on the strict press? Is microloading the answer? I'm using a reverse pyramid training program inspired by Berkhan. I train the press twice a week using regular and pause techniques. And you guys really got to quit using those abbreviations because RPT actually has a totally separate meaning. And had you not said Berkhan, I wouldn't know specifically what you meant by RPT. I would have thought you meant rest pause training. Because normally if someone writes RPT, that's what I think of, rest pause training. Instead, it's reverse pyramid training in this case, but only because you said Berkhan in there who uses that sort of training. So if I didn't know who he was, I'd be answering this question wrong. So please use full words if you're going to type it out, so there's no ambiguity, because oftentimes you guys will do that. And sorry, it's just a little pet peeve side note. That I would have thought that was rest pause training, because I don't do reverse pyramid training and I don't endorse it or advocate it for the most part. So it wouldn't even be the first thing that comes to my head. But the best way, microloading. Absolutely. I agree. The strict press is very, very difficult to progress on. It's one of those that you have to microload. It's one of those where sometimes you've got to back up a little bit, do weight resets, things like that. But yeah, small increases, 2.5 pound increases, 1 pound increases. You might need 1/2 pound microplates sometimes to really squeeze out performance on the press. And people say, well, what do you mean? Well, you guys remember when I finally got to a 225 press, right? You guys remember it when I did it last year, early in the year, and then I started doing it every day? I used microplates all the way up. From the time I was at 185 all the way to 225, I had to use microplates to get that 40 pounds. It works. Use microplates, absolutely. Microloading is one of the keys to that lift, in my opinion. All right, next question. If lifting weights had zero effect on how you look, i.e. if muscles could only become stronger and never grow in size, would you still lift? In this scenario, it is applied to everyone, not just you. If so, would it take up as much of your time as it does now? Yes, obviously. In fact, it would actually make training better overall. And the reason I say that, right now, guys who have no training knowledge, who are just genetically gifted with certain structures, who use a bunch of tren and a little growth hormone, are viewed as experts on training, who literally know nothing of value about training. And they're giving bad advice to people based purely on their look. Well, they didn't get their look through lifting. And if lifting weights didn't affect how you look, no one would ever have seen anyone who looks like a bodybuilder or anything like that. It wouldn't exist, right? And if it didn't exist, you would have no frame of reference for it, and people would train for completely different reasons. They train for completely different reasons. The health benefits and all the research we have on it is overwhelming, and so much so that every single human being on earth needs to be lifting and training for strength. So if performance and health were the only reasons to train, I think that a lot of people, it would be easier to encourage them to lift heavy, because a lot of people exercise purely for health who say, oh, I don't want to get big and bulky, or I don't want too much muscle, all this nonsense, right? All this nonsense. When the reality is all the health benefits that they want, they would get from strength training. And they, again, you would listen to people based upon the results that you got for health and based upon science and coaching more than what jackasses look like on Instagram. And if that happened, I think it would be better overall. And like I said, there would be no frame of reference for it, right? There would be no frame of reference for it anyways. So you wouldn't know what you were supposedly missing if it never existed. And again, all the same research would still be there showing the enormous, overwhelming health and fitness benefits of training for strength, right? And so then that would be the focus, and that would be perfectly fine. Yeah, I would definitely continue to train just as heavy and as hard as I do now, except I would probably never bother to do rep work at all, right? I would just do singles. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.